Welcome back to the series. Today we're covering the second episode of Cocked and Locked, the Diabolical Guild of Villains. I do suggest you watch the first episode's breakdown first, since I will refer to what happened in that video in future breakdowns. I'm happy to break this one down since there's quite a few interesting things that appear in this episode. Anyway, let's begin, table lovers.
Remember how I wished we could get there in time? Yeah, we didn't.
We open with Darius and Wilburn finally arriving at Missile Base 08, but we're just too late. Ah, it rhymed. Inside, they find Captain Cock and Cornelius Cornwell chatting, before Kramer is distracted by Darius and recognizes him from assistance against Blue a while back. Cornelius does as well, remember him back a few months prior, disliking him for messing with his hole. However, once they talked a little more...
Depends, do I get a sloppy sunrise out of it, or...
You can get one next week.
Done!
Yeah. Cornelius tells them the direction they took, and the two investigate to find a corpse that was badly damaged from some serious punches. After a bit, the two are shortly met by Baxter, carrying something we currently don't know what it is, but it's assumed to be the artifact. Upon attempting to ask questions, Baxter makes a run for it. Wilbur and Darius chase after, attempting to fire at this mysterious person. After a scuffle, Darius draws a knife and uses it to block an attack towards Wilburn, though he's out of the way, so he may have been fine. In the end, they're able to knock her out and take the strange device, sending an unknown pulse through Darius. They take Baxter too for interrogation back at Wilburn's office. In the meantime, Killian, Lewis, and a few skeleton crew are meant elsewhere, where Lewis... for a second, I thought I accidentally said Locus instead of Lewis, but I did say Lewis. Where Lewis informs Killian that Baxter was supposed to be here approximately 2 hours ago. From there, Killian calls the meeting of the baddest of the bad, the evilest of the evil, the swaggest of the swag, the Diabolical Guild of Villains. In this meeting, they discuss Darius' recent rise to being a menace, Matt's death, and the status of Baxter, who they have no doubt is alive and captured by heroes, including Darius. This is proven by Kaylin's creepy snooping, as well as being involved with Kaylin's former associate, Dr. Romero Wilburn. According to his spine, he's able to learn that they're on their way to California with Baxter. Casey also makes a nod to her history with the Nova Scotia lobsterfuckers. Killian goes on to explain Darius and the problems he made for them, taking responsibility for Baxter's life. But Killian also theorizes that the Tiki Dex, which hasn't been working, may be connected to Darius in sorts, which is why Killian is unable to use its full potential. Here, we get confirmation that the artifact that Baxter, had in her possession was in fact the artifact, now in Darius's, which is by the name of the Freaky Dex. But we also learned that Baxter was also to recover the Mickey Dex from the fish packing factory. Killian suspects Darius would learn this information from Baxter, choosing to head for the packing factory himself. I mean, maybe they were both going to do it, but, After learning Ren has no sights on Shade just yet, afterwards, Killian considers a chat talk and proceeds to enter a villain monologue, which is pretty cool. After a laugh, the episode fades out, hyping to what's to come. Well, Killian laughs anyway. Sad. Alright, with all that caught up, there really isn't much here to go through. Well, there kind of is, but it won't be as detailed here as it was, compared to the first episode's breakdown. First things first, the beginning. Darius and Wilburn finally arrive at Missile Base 08, which has recently been attacked by the Guild. Soon enough for fire to still be lit, but late enough for the Guild to be gone, with the exception of Baxter, who we'll talk about in a bit. For now, let's get to familiar faces. Captain Cock, giving us the season's name, and Cornelius Cornwell, who we canonically saw last time in the revealing episode Checkmate, talking with Matt about the events in his hole, seeing him poking the bear. Why am I talking so much about Cornelius? I don't even plan to do any characters, videos for a while. Whatever, let's move on. After investigating the bodies, Wilbur makes a nod to an old partner of his that betrayed him, Charla Cunningham, an event we saw in How's Your Hip Doc, which came out 5 days prior to this episode. I guess I could do a mini breakdown of that if you want. As this happened, and after a Resident Evil reference, we once again see Baxter, who of course in the previous episode. I would like to point out that I actually body acted in this scene. I was Wilbur.
You're gonna kill me in front of... Yeah, you're really gonna kill me.
Oh
my
shit!
God. I love how shocked Slime is. Oh shit!
Anyway, as Baxter was making a run for it, the presumed artifact was shot off her back by Darius, who a few shots earlier we can assume he was actually aiming for her, but the artifact being shot off was a complete accident. We know this Darius, shitty shooter. Anyway, going for it, Baxter is taxed by Wilburn. Darius draws a knife, and he's able to block an attack from her rapier. Here's probably my favorite thing in this episode, at least at a narrative level. Unexpectedly, Baxter reveals that he didn't mention a knife and it must be new. We have to remember that we never really saw Darius fight with a knife, so it is new. Because we have to know back in, Season 1, Episode 6, it wasn't Darius, it was actually Dan Graves, disguised as Darius. For those who haven't seen Season 4, or maybe not pieced it together, the reason he has this knife now is because of his difficult battle against Matt Black, who is expertly skilled with his. Upon defeating him, Darius made to pick up knives again, and as we see, sometime between this season, he once again picked up knives and has one now. So, that's probably going to be the most in-depth explanation in this breakdown, but I really wanted to cover that scene. With a dual effort of Darius and Wilburn, and moves Darius copied from Matt, they were able to take down Baxter. Upon their interrogation, Darius picks up the artifact and feels a weird pulse through his armor, something we'll get an explanation on much later. Meanwhile, Killian waits for her. After Lewis informs her just how late she is, Killian calls for a meeting. We cut to the biggest scene that involves the Diabolical Guild villains, featuring every member, I think. Killian, Lewis, Shade's brother, Carla Mayfield, and the Overcoms, Cassie Mayfield, Simon Mayfield, Nolan Beaumont, Kaylin, and honestly one of Tableverse's most recent badass additions, Ren, voiced and created by Life as a Table co-creator, Child Bisector, or Kiefer. As their meeting begins, Kaylin drops the information to us that Matt Black, yes, who I consider as the secondary, antagonist in the revealing, is deceased shortly after his fight with Darius. Now, I can't stress enough how much I and a few others were surprised by this information. Matt had promising potential. However, it is what it is, and honestly, I've accepted it. I might do a video about it. Either way, we move on to find Kaylin was able to figure out, or see, that Darius had captured Baxter, along with Kaylin's old ally, Romero Wilburn. It makes more sense if you know the lore, which I hope one day we will. Followed up by Casey Mayfield, who recognizes Darius' name. Correction. It's Wilburn. I was just informed that it was not Darius that was said. It was actually Wilburn. I messed that up. Telling us that he was a handler for an old group he used to be a part of, the Nova Scotia Lobster Fuckers, a group of bank robbers. Moving on, they talk about Darius and how much trouble he's causing, such as now having Baxter in their possession to interrogate and learn about the artifact she had. But another issue is being that, despite being a theory, Killian is unable to use the Tiki Dex, which is unable, to work, suspecting that the artifact is linked to him in some way. While an interesting Tucker-ish idea, what exactly caused this? We've seen Killian use it in the previous season, but that doesn't really mean there's some sort of limiter. Maybe without the touch of said linked person for a certain time, does it just not work? Will this be more expanded on? Who really knows? Aside from this, Killian figures that Baxter will tell the two about what is to be next. Here, we also learned that this artifact that Baxter had was called the Freaky Dex. Once it was originally found, he informed his apprentice the location of the Meeky Dex at Dan's fish packing factory. Concerned that Darius will pick up on the importance of the mission, Killian plans to recover the Meeky Dex himself. With the meeting nearly over, we learn that Ren was still to find and keep an eye on Shade. However, the LiaT hasn't even seen him. What is it with Shade disappearing? Well, I'm sure Guardians and some others are, but still, even Darius and Co. lost him months ago. What does Shade do anyway? Does he hide in the corner and cry like a little... Anyway, upon asking what Casey, Simon, and Nolan to do, Killian simply asks their schedule and talks about making food for them all. Either way, we move on to a badass monologue revealing all those of the meeting. We end up with an evil laugh, happiness for what's to come.
Well, for villain's sake, we practiced the laugh!
I'm not even going to make an excuse why this took so long. However, with 2025, I've reworked some things in the schedule, and hopefully, I can remain on the projects I have planned. Anyway, thanks for watching, and ready yourself for episode 3, Baxter, which may be in a week or so. I don't actually know, it'll come whenever it comes. This one was quite rushed. I am tired.